Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of In the Kitchen with Zesty Chef Z. That's right, everybody. Zesty Z is back. Now, I have a very serious subject to do. It's very, very zesty, serious zesty, is knife safety. I can't stress how important it is to make sure that you are practicing tucking your fingers, holding your knife right, and watching what you're doing when you're cutting. One of the basic things I want to talk to you guys about is this is the French knife or chef's knife, and we want to carefully hold it, okay? Whenever we travel around the kitchen, whether we're sharpening it or whatever, this knife can hurt you, okay? We have to be very careful with it. So when I'm walking in the kitchen, I want to have my knife point down, okay? And slightly turned away from me, okay? And whenever I'm walking around anybody, I'm gonna say behind you knife or knife behind, loud enough so people can hear. And remember, you're gonna have a bunch of noise in the kitchen with the hood vents going, the ovens going, so you have to make sure you say it loud enough, okay? Because if you bump into somebody or if somebody bumps into you, you can easily hurt yourself with that blade of that knife, okay? And my point is always down, okay? Now, another thing too is if your knife is falling from the table, do not try to catch it, okay? Get your feet out of the way, okay? Let it hit the floor. We can replace the knife tips on here, we can replace the knife. We can't replace toes or, things like that. So we want to be very careful, okay? Now, when we hold a knife, it really depends on the type of knife that we have. Like the chef's knife, we want to either pinch like this and wrap our fingers around, okay, so we have a full, easy grip on here, okay, very comfortable. And we also just have a normal grip, which is just like so, okay, which you still have full control of this knife, okay. Serrated knives are, we hold like this, it has to be comfortable. Now, sometimes I do put my finger on here if I'm slicing a cake, going like this, okay, because I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. Basically, my finger is there to be a pointy extension of that knife, okay. Same thing with this boning knife. This boning knife I can actually use like this to section meat off of a bone, but I am not using a lot of pressure on it. Paring knives are very easy to use as well. It's just a simple grip. I usually still pinch just like so and wrap my fingers around so I can still cut. But the main knife we are going to be using today is the French knife, okay? Now the French knife, we also have to be careful of this hand, which is our guiding hand. We want to bear claw our fingers. Okay, knuckles bent at the first knuckle. Make sure your pinky and your thumb are away. So I have one finger in front, bent, two in the back, and then my pinky and my thumb are back here. Okay, now I can use my pinky and thumb for other things, okay? But your hand should be bent at the first knuckle, okay? And then when I'm cutting, I can be against that knuckle, okay? Okay, so I'm being very, very careful. So this is going to be our big time utility knife. The tip of the knife here is for light duty, for like mushrooms, slicing strawberries. The medium section here is for like medium duty ingredients, like cutting a potato in half, just chopping some cucumbers, things like that. And the back end is basically for like really dense objects like carrots and squashes, something that we need to put a lot of force into it to cut through, okay? Now, you will develop, if you hold your knife like this, you will develop a callus right here, okay? It will hurt until you build up that callus, okay? But we have to be very careful. We need to make sure we tuck our fingers and hold our knife right, okay? Now, if you can see, my body is not straight up and down to this cutting board, okay? Now if I do that and I try to cut something, my body is in the way. So what I want to do is turn about 45-degree angle, just slightly bend my knees, okay, just to give me a relaxed feel, okay, because you should be comfortable while you're cutting, okay. So my feet are about shoulder width apart. I got a slight bend in my knees. Now since I'm bent this way, my arm, if I'm slicing, can move back and forth nice and straight, perpendicular to that cutting board now. And with me standing like this, I'm going to have less tension on my wrist when I am tucking my fingers to hold my ingredients, okay? So this is a very comfortable way to cut. So with our knives, we want to make sure that we keep them sharp, okay? The reason why we want to keep them sharp is because we use less force to push to cut things. So if my knife is very dull, I'm going to be pushing a lot harder, which will in effect give us more pressure and have a chance for us to slip or just the knife will be taken the wrong way and give us a nice cut on our hands. And then also it'll be a jagged cut, which is a worse kind of cut. It'll leave more scarring and take a lot more time to heal. Now with a sharp knife, we will use less pressure to cut our ingredients, so there's less force that you are using. And also, if you do cut yourself, it's a cleaner cut and it'll heal a lot faster. Okay. Now, to use a knife, again, we want to make sure that it stays sharp. So one way to do that is to use a steel. Now, this is not a sharpener. This is a knife honer. Okay. The knife already has an edge on it. Okay. But what we want to do is, after we use it for a bit, we want to go on the steel to redefine its edge, because after it hits the cutting board a couple times, it starts to dull out. Okay, so we're going to redefine its edge by using this. Now, this is a steel, it's magnetized, it's got grooves in it, and this allows us to redefine our edge. It does have a knife guard here, so make sure that all your fingers are behind this, okay? And what we want to do is take our knife at the 10-degree angle, and we're just going to kind of go across. Now we can go this way. Now we don't have to go fast. Okay, we're just going to go nice and slow. Okay. Now this I've been doing for a while, so I feel comfortable going this way. But you can also put this right down on your cutting board this way, get a good grip on your handle, and you can go back this way and go down. Okay, and you want to keep that angle on it, a 10 to 15 degree angle. And what that does, this steel removes any burrs that are left on this knife, and it redefines your edge. Okay. Now, whenever we're wiping or cleaning our knife, we want to make sure that we wipe it down. So you want to take your towel, go from the back side of the spine, close around the knife. Don't go past the blade edge. Okay, then you just want to wipe. Okay, if you ever have to wipe your knife. Okay, we want to go like that. Okay, now I always wipe my knives in between using the steel, just to make sure that it's clean. Okay, now another way we need to keep our knife sharp is actually sharpening it on a 3-sided stone. Now this is a 3-sided stone. Now we do have a rough, a medium grit. Hold on here. Okay, so we got rough, medium, smooth. Okay, so what you want to do is on these sharpeners is run your knife back and forth on it. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do a full spiel on here, but you want to make sure that you have mineral oil on your stone. Now, this is a wet stone, so they have lots of different varieties out there. They have machine ones that do it. And then you also have a mechanical one, which is that is run through with water, and you run it on a wheel. This is just a manual one. Now, the American style to do this is you take your knife, and you want to make sure that you are 10 to 15 degrees, okay, and I usually put my fingers here and I bring it down close to me like this, okay, and then you can go back up like this, okay. Now that's the American style. I do not care for that style. I find it kind of hard to keep my knife very evenly pressed going across that way. I like the Japanese style of doing this, and what that does is allows me to hold in a specific area. So I'm gonna hold my knife almost just like I'm cutting, is I'm gonna wrap my 3 fingers there, and I got my fingers just like so. So I still have a good grip on my knife. So all I'm going to do is now I'm just going to use this part and I'm just going to go back and forth. Okay, just like so. Okay, and I can get that section of that knife. Okay, then I'm going to switch to this side, go back and forth. Okay, and then do this side at the base. Okay, well, you only need to run it like 3 to 4 times. Okay, then you're going to switch over, reverse your grip. Okay, and you're going to do the same thing. I find it's a lot easier. I can move my fingers around and keep that nice even keel pressure on that knife. Okay, so you want to do 5 swipes on both sides with the rough grit. Then you want to do the same with the medium grit, and then also on the smooth grit. Okay, it works really, really well. Okay, so you want to make sure, again, you have a very sharp knife. Okay, now after you sharpen it, you always make sure you want to wash, rinse, and sanitize your knife. Okay, you need to make sure you get all the oil off the knife before you use it. Okay, so with that being said, if you're washing your knife in the sink, another safety concern is not to throw your knife in the sink and just leave it there. You always want to make sure you wash your knives by hand right then and there. Okay, and again, you kind of follow the same protocols. Remember when I was wiping, just going like this and going like this. Okay, same thing with when you're washing it. I don't use a scrubby on it. Okay, I just use a towel. So I get my hot soapy towel and I kind of bundle it up a little bit, and I just go back and forth, but not going past that blade, to go like this, and I get in between the handle. I can wash the handle, I can spin it. Okay, still grabbing hold onto the handle, not the blade, and washing. Okay, and then when you're rinsing, you can just rinse it. Okay, then you sanitize it. Let it sit for the sanitizer amount for either quad or bleach, and then you can let it air dry. Okay, but again, you have to be very careful of that edge. Okay, so all right, the other thing I want to talk to you guys about is your cutting boards. Okay, what we have here is just a plain cutting board. Now they come in plastic, hardwoods. Okay, plastic is pretty common in the kitchen industry just because it's easy to clean and you can run these things through the dish machine. Now this one is plastic and it slides all over. Okay, I'm gonna get to that in a minute. Now this one doesn't go anywhere, does it? Now this has silicone right here. Now this is a great cutting board because it actually raises off the edge of the cut or off the steel, and it doesn't move anywhere. Now if you have a cutting board like this, don't worry about it, it's quite alright. What we're going to do is we're going to take either some paper towel, we're just going to get it wet, just slightly dampened, not saturated, and what we're going to do is put this underneath here and put your cutting board on top. And that'll stop your cutting board from moving. So once you use your knife, the cutting board will stay put. Okay? So that is all about knife safety as well, is your cutting board safety. Because you need a good solid surface to cut on, and we don't want that cutting board to move. All right.